differentiation, doing different levels exercises, the change is not delivering the idea, or the students have different interests, yes. Okay, now that we have identified some of the challenges, now let us look at what we aim to achieve during this workshop. So here, okay. By the end of this workshop, you should be able to recognize learner variability and understand how UDL and differentiation support student-centered learning. You will also look at flexible learning goals, practical strategies, assessment and feedback, student agency, and ways AI can support teaching. So before we talk about the strategies, let us first think about the learners in our classroom. Think about one class you currently teach. You may have students who finish quickly, students who need more support, students who avoid participation, or students who need more challenge. Right? Of course, this is normal in any classroom. My question for you again, please participate using the chat box. Which type of learner comes to mind first? Which one? Who need more support? Who avoid participation? Or who need more challenge? Usually, as an educator, we are not only focused on the students who need more support or avoid participation. We have to always come in and highlight who need more challenge. Who need more challenge. Don't forget those students, right? Maybe finish it quickly, need support, avoids participation, and needs more challenge. Yes, confidence. We focus on all. Excellent. But how? This is Zainab. So these differences between learners lead us to an important idea. Learner variability. Learner variability is normal. Students don't learn at the same pace or in the same way. So the goal is not to create a different lesson for every student. The goal is to provide ways for students to reach the same learning goal. So instead of asking, why is this student struggling? We can also ask what barrier might be affecting the student's access to learning. So stop asking, why is this student struggling? You can ask what barrier might be affecting the student's access to learning. So one framework that helps us think about these barriers is universal design for learning, which is the UDL, Universal Design for Learning. So universal design for learning helps us design flexibility from the beginning. It has three main principles. First, engagement. How do we motivate students and help them participate? Second, representation. How do we present information in different ways? Third, action and expression. How can students show what they understand in different ways? Quick question, please, using the chat box. Which principle do you use most often in your teaching? Which principle? Engagement, representation, action, and expression. Which one? We engage students through hands-on activities. I use all, representation, all three. Okay, so UDL supports flexibility from the beginning. Now, let us see how it connects with differentiation. Okay, this is the UDL, the principles for designing flexible learning, engagement, representation, action, and expression. Now, let us see how it connects with differentiation. UDL and differentiation are related, but they are not the same. So don't confuse. UDL and differentiation are related. Great. So, but they are not the same. UDL helps us plan for learner variability before the lesson begins, while differentiation helps us respond more specifically when some learners need additional support or more challenge. I will give you an example. All students may have access to text, video, visuals, and as well models. Then some students may receive extra scaffolding, while others receive an extension activity. So both approaches support the same learning goal, right? So UDL and differentiation are related, but they are not the same. So now let us move from the idea of UDL to the actual planning process. This slide shows a practical UDL lesson design process. We start with a clear learning goal, right? Then we anticipate learning variability. If you agree, raise your thumb, please. We select methods, materials, and media. During the lesson, we monitor and support students. Finally, we reflect and refine. So please, which step is most difficult for you as an educator? Which step is most difficult for you? Which one? We have 6 steps of UDL. Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3. 2. The last step, 6. 3. So your challenge, okay? As I see, number 3, which is assessment, right? Thank you so much for your participation. Since the first step is the learning goal, let us look at how the wording of the goal can affect flexibility. Here we have 2 examples. The rigid goal asks students to write a 3-paragraph essay about the water cycle. The problem is that the goal includes the method of expression. If the real learning goal is understanding the water cycle, students may be able to show that understanding in different ways, right? They could write, create a diagram, record an explanation, or build a model. So the learning goal is
write a 3-paragraph essay describing the water cycle.
mute
Students
yourself.
will demonstrate understanding of the water cycle by explaining how water moves through its
A
stages.
diagram, record an explanation, or build a model. So the learning goals stayed the same, but the way students show learning can vary. So once we have clear learning goals, AI can help us create some of these flexible supports more efficiently. As you know, AI can support planning, differentiation, assessment, scaffolding, and resource creation. And don't forget, teacher judgment remains in the center. AI can generate ideas and material, but the teacher still needs to check everything and adapt the content and decide whether it's appropriate for the learners. So a simple principle to remember is AI support the work, teachers verify, adapt, and decide. So now you know that AI can support planning, differentiation, assessment, scaffolding, and resource creation. But what happens when UDL, differentiation, and AI are applied to one lesson? Okay, please choose one lesson that you currently teach. Take 2 minutes. Think about one lesson that you currently teach. Think about the learning goal. What barriers might some students face? What is one UDL adjustment you could make? Does anyone need additional support or more challenge? And where could AI support you? Okay, of course, you redesign the whole lesson. Just identify one or two possible change. Choose one lesson that you currently teach. I will repeat. Think about the learning goal, what barriers might some students face, what is one UDL adjustment you could make, does anyone need additional support or more challenge, and where could AI support you? I will wait for 2 minutes just to choose your lesson and write your answer in the chat box. Just identify one or two possible changes. I will repeat this where, as I mentioned, AI can support planning, differentiation, assessment, scaffolding, and sorts. Yes, Miss Zarman. Yeah. But just a moment, I want to explain it again to make it more clear. Okay. Which one? واحد. What it is? Yes. Here. I'm asking you the question, then I return to this slide. This slide will help you, okay? So this example is a grade 4 fractions lesson. In the original lesson, all students receive one worksheet with the same 20 problems, right? All students receive one worksheet with the same 20 problems, but the class includes students with very different needs. So the redesigned lesson offers different ways to engage with the topic, different ways to access the content, and different ways to demonstrate understanding. It also includes targeted support, extension, and possible AI support. Okay, so which change do you think would make the biggest difference in the class? This will help you answer the next question. Okay, which change do you think would make the biggest difference in this classroom? Multiple ways to respond, targeted support, extension, differentiation, all. Okay, so now I want you to connect this example to one of your own lessons. Okay, so مثل ما حكينا, as I mentioned, all students receive one worksheet with the same 20 problems. So which change do you think would make the biggest difference in this class? Here, choose one lesson that you currently teach. You have 2 minutes to identify one or two possible changes. So what barriers might some students face? What is one UDL adjustment you could make? Does anyone need additional support or more challenge? Use differentiator to generate level reading and vocabulary flashcards and to generate UDL aligned rubrics. Yes, I will talk about it a little bit, and I will share prompts. Miss Maha will share it on the group, WhatsApp group, okay?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just, you still have 1 minute to identify one or two possible changes in my class students with writing. So what to possible change, what you may do in this way? Scaffolding, versions, right? Okay, let's move. This slide shows the full redesign process. Okay, but because our session is only for 1 hour, we will not complete the full 15 minutes activity now. You can use this framework later when redesigning a full lesson. So a strong redesign includes a clear goal. When you redesign your lesson, it should include a clear goal, learning barriers, UDL response, more than one way to demonstrate learning. And of course, AI tools to support where you can use it, which is useful. Type. Now, we have focused mainly on design. Now let us move to what happens during implementation. You redesign your lesson, okay? Your lesson now includes a clear goal, learner barriers, and maybe more than one way to demonstrate learning. But what happens during implementation? What happens? We move from planning to classroom practice. In this section, we will look at what the student-centered learning looks like during the lesson. We will focus on 5 main areas: designing learning experiences, instructional strategies, student agency, and AI in daily teaching. Which one of this area would you most like to strengthen? Which one from these 5 areas? I will answer how to make students interact during the lesson during my session. So now we are using differentiation, UDL. We are moving now to the second session, from understanding to implementation. Now we know how to redesign our lesson, how we implement it. We have 5 areas: designing learning experiences, instructional strategies, assessment for learning, and AI in daily teaching. Which area would you most like to strengthen? 5. All of them. Okay, excellent. Let us start with planning the learning experience itself. Okay? As you mentioned, all of them. Okay, let's start with planning the learning experience itself. So, here, backward design starts with the end in mind. This is the first area. we identify the learning goal and success criteria. After that, we decide what evidence will show that students have learned. Then we plan the learning experiences. So you redesign your lesson. When you come to the implementation, we have 5 areas. First one starts with the end in mind, which is the backward design. We identify the learning goal in your lesson plan. You have to set your learning goal and the success criteria. Then we decide what evidence will show that students have learned to make sure that my students learned the competences or the skills. Then we plan the learning experiences. This helps us avoid starting with an activity before we are clear about the learning. So once the learning goal is clear, we can choose the most appropriate strategy. You have to identify the learning goal and success criteria and the evidence. And the evidence that show you that students have learned. Okay? So after that, we can choose the most appropriate strategy. There is no single strategy that makes a classroom student-centered. One of the participants asked me, how can I make the student participate or engaged? These strategies help you. So no single strategy that makes a classroom student-centered.
And today,
These strategies give students different way to participate, collaborate, investigate, discuss, and solve problems. Please mute yourself. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes, please. They are participating using the chat box. Okay. So one of the participants asked me, how can I make my students participate or engage? These strategies give the students different ways to participate, collaborate, investigate, discuss, and solve problems. The important point is to choose the strategy based on the learning goal and the needs of the learner. You have to choose the strategy based on the learning goal and the needs of the learner. Right. Now, let us look at a few of these strategies as an example. Inquiry-based learning. Okay, one strategy. This strategy works well when we want students to investigate a question. This is the first one. Second one, choice boards. Choice boards give students options while keeping the learning goal consistent. Jigsaw. Jigsaw is an amazing strategy. This strategy gives the students responsibility for learning one part of a topic and teaching it to others. The main question is always, what are students doing during the learning? Sleeping? Daydreaming? What are students doing during the learning? They have to participate, to engage, to collaborate, to think, right? So here, AI as well can also help us design these activities more efficiently. So I don't know how to develop activity for the inquiry-based learning, or for the choice boards, or for the jigsaw, or for any other strategies in the slide before. So AI can help us design these activities more efficiently. Here are the prompts. AI prompts become more useful when they are specific. So the one who are using AI to generate worksheets or activities or assessments or strategies, the AI prompts become more useful when they are specific. We should include information such as grade level, subject, learning goal, learner needs, and the type of activity or output we want. So you can use AI to generate your activities. Once you decide what strategy do you want, of course, depending on the learning goal, you can use AI prompts to help you generate the worksheets or any other resources. Once it's generated, we should then review and adapt the result before using it, not taking it as it is. No, we should then review and adapt the result before using it. Clear? Is it clear? Thumbs up. Okay. Now we move to another important part of student-centered learning, which is assessment. Assessment should help us make decisions during learning, not only at the end. Yani don't wait until the session ends and then you make an exit ticket or something else as an evidence for you to make sure that your students learned. No. Assessment should help us make decisions during learning, not only at the end. So we start with the learning goal. We start with the learning goal. We check understanding. After that, we give feedback. Depends on the feedback, we can adjust the teaching methods, right? Then students use the feedback to improve. This is what makes assessment formative. Why we use always formative assessment, summative assessment? Formative assessment happens during the session, right? To make decisions during learning, to check understanding, and to give your students feedback. After that, you can adjust your teaching. So the students use the feedback to improve. So don't wait at to the end of the session to check if your students understood or not. So once we have evidence of learning, the next step is to use that evidence through feedback. Good feedback helps students answer 3 questions. Where am I going? How am I doing? What should I do next? Rubric can make expectations clear. Rubric. Always prepare rubrics. Use it during the session, during your explanation, because rubrics can make expectations clear. Success criteria can help students understand what the quality looks like. Student conferences can give us a chance to provide more focused feedback. However, feedback is only useful if students have an opportunity to respond to it. So the goal is not only to give feedback, but to help students use it. So, and when the students begin to understand the goal, monitor their own progress, and respond to feedback, we begin to build student agency. How? Rubrics. Put your rubric in front of you, hang it on the whiteboard or using your panels. So here students, once the student see the rubric, so the students begin to understand the goal. and monitor their own progress and respond to feedback. Here we begin to build student agency. Student agency. So rubrics is very important. Student agency includes four main areas. Voice. So students have opportunities to express ideas and perspectives. Second, choice. Students make meaningful decisions about their learning. Third, self-regulation. Students manage their effort, behavior, and progress. Fourth, metacognition. Students think about how they learn. So agency is not simply giving students choices. It's helping them become more active and responsible in the learning process. Now, the good news is that we can build these skills through very simple classroom routines. So student agency includes four main areas: voice, choice, self-regulation, metacognition. Clear? Okay. So for examples, let's begin with this example. Students can set one learning goal at the beginning of the week. One learning goal at the beginning of the week. Then, in the middle of the week, they can check their progress and ask whether they need to adjust anything. In the middle. So, students can set one learning goal at the beginning of the week. Then, in the middle of the week, they can check their progress and ask whether they need to adjust anything. At the end of the week, they can reflect on whether they met the goal and what they learned about themselves as learners. In addition to that, short reflection questions can help students become more aware of their learning. Now, my question is for you. Which routine would be easiest for you to introduce first? Which routine would be easiest for you to introduce first? Which one? In the middle of the week? At the beginning of the week? And at the end of the week. So, which routine? Goal setting, progress check, or reflection? Which routine? Set a goal. Excellent. Progress check. Set a goal. Progress check. Excellent. Now that we have looked at student agency, let us return to AI and see how it can support some of our daily teaching tasks. AI can support us in different ways. For example, we can use it to create differentiated resources, adjust reading levels, generate choice boards, draft parent communication, support feedback, create rubrics, suggest activities, and generate reflection prompts, right? Clear. So, however, the most important thing is to start with the need. With the need. Instead of asking which AI tool should I use, ask what task do I need help with. So if you need differentiated resources, don't ask yourself which AI tool should I use. No, what task do I need help with? So then choose the tool that fits that purpose. Yani you have to decide the pedagogy, the strategy, the task, then choose the tool. يعني don't think first which tool I should I use. No, what task do I need help with? Then choose the tool that fits that purpose. Okay? Which AI use would save you the most time during your preparation, during your teaching time? Which AI would save you the most time? What usually you use? I need help generating materials. It's time consuming to prepare it without. Yes, you can use the AI tools. What task do you want? Differentiate learning. You can scan your lesson and upload it on ChatGPT, on Diffit AI tool, on Gemini, on a cloud, any AI tool that can help you. And write the prompt. But if you act as an instructional designer, act as a teacher, you have to write the prompt. Be specific. Mention everything in your prompt. We have 5 sections in the prompt. It's not AI training today, but later on we will deliver something practical. Maybe some of you don't know how to write a prompt or how to use AI tool while they are differentiated the lesson or adjust reading levels. Okay, notebook, excellent. So notebook LM is an amazing tool, but there are more tools that may be more adaptable for the differentiation, which is Diffit AI, Magic School. Okay, so these tools are specific for differentiation and UDL and so on. Okay, so let us apply the ideas we have discussed to a realistic classroom. Please look at this slide. Choose one of the 2 cases. After that, identify the main challenge. Then ask yourself what might be creating the barrier. Okay, so choose one of the 2 cases. Identify the main challenge. Then ask yourself what might be creating the barrier. You can write your answer. Case 2. Case 2, Mrs. Raja, ask yourself what might be creating the barrier. Okay. After that, think about how you could increase participation or engagement. I had students taking art history course that was main lecture based. Okay. Next, consider whether UDL could help. Then think about whether differentiation is needed. Finally, decide whether AI could support the teacher's planning. I will give you around 2 minutes, then post one redesign idea in the chat. Yani, choose one of the 2 cases, identify the main challenge, ask yourself what might be creating the barrier, think about how you could increase participation or engagement, consider whether UDL could help, then think about whether differentiation is needed. Finally, decide whether AI could support the teacher's planning. You have 2 minutes. Yalla, redesign idea in the chat. I redesigned the course by adding Figma and asked students to engage in pairs with the content of Figma to reach the learning outcome. I'm not sure if this is differentiation. And ask students to engage in pairs with the content of Figma to reach the learning outcome. So differentiation, you mean here, you will work in pairs. Yani your students will work in pairs. No, it's not differentiation. Okay. Think about it again. Yeah, I still have 1 minute. Okay, to increase participation in case teacher needs to engage students with activities by different kinds of strategies to keep them busy. Yes, I would help by generating, okay. Redesign the course taking into account differentiations. The teachers has to use modern ways for teaching. Give the 3 students. Excellent. Rosalia, bravo, excellent. I like your answer. Excellent. Traditional lecture and daily worksheet, students have the same routine every time. What needs to be done? Different approach in teaching. Then use AI. Okay, excellent. Okay. So now that we have applied the ideas to a classroom situation, we are ready to move into the final part of the workshop, which is here we are moving, we are going to move beyond trying individual strategies. So instead, we are going to think about how this idea can become part of regular classroom practice. So the focus now is not only implementation, but consistency. Okay, consistency. So let us begin by looking at how we move from simply delivering a lesson to designing a complete learning experience. So a learning experience includes several phases. We start with a clear lesson. Then students need active engagement. They need opportunities for inquiry and collaboration. After that, reflection becomes important. Finally, we want students to transfer learning and use it in another context. Which phase is most often missing here? Think about your own lesson. Which phase? We have 6 phases. Which one is most often missing in your class, in your own lesson? I'm just reading the first one. Okay, reflection, or reflection. And the last one, number 6, inquiry and transfer of learning. Okay. Exactly. The same, these phases will not look at the same in every subject. Of course, we have math teachers, science teachers, social studies teachers, language teachers, right? So let us look at a few subject-specific examples. Student-centered learning can look different depending on the subject. In mathematics, students may investigate patterns and explain reasoning. In science, they may investigate real-world questions. In English, discussion and argumentation may become more important. In social studies, analyze different perspectives. In early years, exploration and learning stations may be more suitable. So although the strategies change, the planning questions remain similar. Keep it in your mind. What is the learning goal? What barriers might learners face? You have to planning lesson. What is the learning goal? What barriers might learners face? How will students participate? And how will they show learning? Okay? So at this point, a common concern comes up. Type, how do we manage a classroom when students are doing different things or taking more responsibility? How?
Excuse me, Mona, I have a question. What
Yes,
is
please.
UDL focus?
Understanding by design.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
UDL, Universal Design for Learning, sorry. Okay? UDL is Universal Design for Learning. This is a framework. So many educators confuse between differentiation and UDL. So you have to decide which one you use, differentiation or UDL. I mentioned it at the beginning of the presentation of our workshop. Okay, is it clear? So managing the student-centered classroom, student-centered learning still needs clear structure. Students need to understand routines. Roles need to be defined. Time limits need to be visible, and students need to understand what they are accountable for. So giving students more ownership doesn't mean removing structure. In fact, clear structure becomes even more important. Great. So maybe as educators, you see routines is the hardest for you. Maybe transitions, maybe roles, maybe time, maybe accountability. So once these structures are in place, the next question is whether our challenge are actually improving learning. But I will back, sorry, okay? For this one, again, for what is UDL? Universal Design for Learning. The lady who asked me, which has helped us design flexibility from the beginning. I mentioned it before. It has three main principles: engagement, representation, action, and expression. And UDL and differentiation are related, but they are not the same. I mentioned it before, okay? So here, we should not rely only on the feeling that a lesson went well. We need evidence. We need evidence to check everything. For example, are students participating? If they are not participating, you have to change your strategy. Are they collaborating? Are they showing understanding? Sometimes the problem or the challenge is not with your students. The problem and the challenge is with our teaching methods, teaching strategies we use. We don't take into consideration that we have different levels in our classroom. You have to prepare your lessons or your assessment or your worksheets to be helpful for the three levels. Usually we have three levels in our classroom. The one which is okay, we have the one in the middle, and we have the I'm starting from we have three. We have the one who needs support, the one who he is balanced, and the challenge students. Don't forget the challenge students. Also, these students sometimes feel boring, sometimes finish the worksheets quickly. So you have to adapt your lesson, your worksheets, your assessments, your activities to meet the 3 levels. And now AI can help us prepare it in very simple way and in a very easiest way. Just use Diffit AI, Magic School AI, upload your lesson, put your prompt, ask AI to help you prepare these 3 versions. Don't come to your class and you are not ready. Prepare it before, prepare your learning goal. And after that, during the lesson, are students participating? If not, so the challenge is with your teaching methods. Are they collaborating? Are they showing understanding? What do their work samples show? What do exit tickets show? Don't wait until the lesson or the unit end to make an assessment. The evidence should be during the session, not at the end of the session. Okay? So the main message here, look for evidence, not impressions. So if we know what to look for, the final step is deciding how to begin making these change in a realistic way. You don't need to change everything at once. I always say start small. Start small and consistency. يعني in week 1, try one student-centered strategy. In week 2, refine one part of a lesson using UDL or differentiation. In week 3, use AI purposefully where it can support your work. Right? Student-centered strategy. Try one student-centered strategy. Go to the ChatGPT. Ask, give me one student-centered strategy for your lesson, for my lesson. Give the AI your competency. Ask for the learning outcomes. Then, when you have your student-centered strategy, look at it, revise it, read it well. Refine one part of a lesson using UDL. You can use the same student-centered strategy in the same chatbot and write a prompt to refine one part of a lesson using which UDL or differentiation. It depends on your strategy, on your learning goal. In week 3, use AI where it can support your work. Use AI to make activities, to make worksheets, to make assessment, to make infographics. And don't forget that we have many different learning styles. Don't use only the whiteboard or the panels just to show the presentation. Use videos, pictures, audio, learning styles. Don't forget the learning styles. So in week 4, look at the evidence and decide what you want to adjust. If you try one student-centered strategy in week 1 and you refine it in week 2 and use AI to support your work, then in work 4, look at the evidence. شوف, is it a good strategy? Is it good what I did in my lesson? What you want to adjust? So this is about gradual improvement, not immediate perfection. Okay? So, and with that in mind, I want to leave you with one final message. Learner variability is not something that interrupts teaching. It's the reality teaching must be designed around. UDL gives us a framework. Differentiation helps us respond to specific needs. So UDL gives us a framework. Differentiation helps us respond to specific need, and AI can support the process. But the heart of the classroom remains human, our judgment, our knowledge of students, our ability to notice, our willingness to adjust. A student-centered classroom is not built in one day. It's built one decision at a time, one lesson, one change, one step forward. So before we close, please complete this sentence in the chat. One thing I will take from today's workshop is what? Complete the sentence in the chat. One thing I will take from today's workshop is, which one? UDL framework, differentiation, the AI tool that can help your work, can support you. Yeah, 1 minute, and please complete this sentence in the chat. Differentiation. UDL. Apply UDL in my lesson planning. Excellent. Okay. So now, transform teaching strategies using an UDL approach. Excellent. Differentiation. Always prepare your lesson in the 3 levels. Don't forget the challenge students. Yes, you will share the link of the certificates in the chat box. So now, thank you for your participation, your ideas, for the work you continue to do with learners every day. Design for all, and you give more learners the chance to belong, participate, and succeed. Thank you so much. Thank you for your participation. Mrs. Maha, please share the link for the certificate in the chat box.
Sorry, I just noticed that I am muted. So
Okay.
I'm really sorry about that. I would like to thank you all for being with us today. If you please, to avoid any confusion like usually, in order not to text me and say I didn't receive my certificates, if you please, do your best to fill in the registration link. Certificates, like usually, is going to be shared on our Facebook page, and also sure you are in both of our WhatsApp group. I usually share updates on that. Before we're going to end the session, in case any one of you would like to raise a questions, you can feel free just to open your cam or share your question in the chat box. I'm sure Ms. Mona is usually ready to answer you. Any question?
Thank you for your comments in the chat box.
Yes, they are active actually today.
Yes, thank you so
I really
much.
would like to thank you, Ms. Mona, for being amazing like usually. For this amazing interactive session. Before we are going to conclude, I would like to leave just you with one simple thought. Student-centered learning is not about doing more, actually. It's about designing better. Today, we explored how differentiation, UDL, and artificial intelligence can help us respond more thoughtfully to the diversity that already exists in every classroom. But the most important element actually remains the educator. Technology can support us, framework can guide us, strategies can inspire us, but it is our professional judgment, our empathy, our creativity, and our understanding of our learners that turn ideas into meaningful learning experience. On behalf of the International Internship University Global Trainer Network, I would like really to thank Ms. Mona Sawan for sharing her knowledge, practical insight, and valuable experience with us today, and not just today, she's usually here with us. Mona, thank you for being part of our professional development series and for
Thank you for your time as well.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
And for contributing to our international community of educators and trainers, and to all our participants joining us from different countries and educational contexts. Thank you for your time, your engagement, your commitment to continuous professional growth. I hope you leave today with at least one idea, one strategy, and one question that you can take back to your own classroom or a training environment. because meaningful professional development is not measured by what we hear actually during a session. It is measured by what we choose to do differently afterward. Thank you once again for being with us. We look forward, like usually, to welcoming you to our upcoming sessions of International
My pleasure.
Internship University Global Trainer Network Professional Development Series 2026. Have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see all of you again. Thank you again for being with
Thank
us.
you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.